York and New Jersey are bracing for Floyd. Evacuations on Fire Island, a state of emergency in New Jersey.
For the Bahamas, it's too late. The hurricane ripped up roofs, knocked down power lines, and washed out roads. But remarkably, no confirmed deaths.
Florida escaped a direct hit, but the pounding surf took its toll, washing away a pier in Daytona and causing severe erosion up and down the coast.
As Floyd heads up toward Virginia, Navy ships are heading out to sea. They've left Norfolk for the open waters. The ships will actually be safer out there when Floyd comes calling.
Good evening, I'm Rosanna Scotto.
And I'm Harry Martin in for John Rowland.
Floyd's ready to come calling in the Carolinas, but officials around here are going on full alert for a potential pounding in the tri-state area.
Nick's been tracking the storm. He's here with the very latest for us. Nick.
All right, Harry and Rosanna, the storm is getting ultimately close now to the North Carolina coastline. Looks like it's moved just a little further east than it was moving a little bit earlier in the day, and you can see on the satellite loop the eye is still visible. It's still a Category 3 storm, although at the minimal end of that scale with 115-mile-per-hour winds, and the target landfall time is still about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And you can see on the radar scope there, the eye is showing up very nicely, and it looks like it's heading right at Wilmington, North Carolina. Do you know Wilmington has been hit by 5 hurricanes, with this one going on shore tonight in the last 5 years, I believe it is. So just an amazing hurricane target zone for eastern North Carolina. They're going to get pounded with a 7 to 12-foot storm surge. And you can see the tropical connection now has made it all the way up into New England, and that's why we're getting our rain, and occasionally that rain's going to be heavy tonight, and that's why there is a flood watch in effect for the entire area from tonight on into Friday. Not only that, a tropical storm warning's up for the Jersey Shore, and a tropical storm watch covering the rest of our coastline, with a high wind watch over the interior sections north and west for heavy gusty winds that'll be moving into the area. That's mainly later tomorrow into early Friday. So we've got a lot to go through before Floyd moves through the area. And I'll tell you more about what to expect from Floyd and when it's coming a little bit later on. Right now, we're going to go down to Mario BOSQUEZ. He's in Charleston, South Carolina, where it looks like you missed the full brunt of Floyd, but you're still getting some rain there, Mario.
Definitely so, Nick. Good evening. We are getting slammed by lots of wind and rain here in Charleston, South Carolina. Except for the glare of television lights in certain areas, I can tell you that most of the city is said to be in blackout conditions. Many reports of blown transformers, downed power lines, and some reports of tree branches flying through people's windows. However, we have no confirmed reports of any possible injuries in the area. However, emergency management teams are out scouting the area of Charleston and the surrounding area to see what type of damage Hurricane Floyd is inflicting upon them. But of course, the people in the meantime in this blackout, with even water supply possibly being cut off later in the evening, they're just trying to endure the night with Hurricane Floyd.
Thank God that this is a 3, not a 4 and or 5, as they were predicting originally. And but this is really whipping bad.
Charleston's elegant historic homes were buttoned up, and a nervous boat owner even chained up his vessel in an improvised dry dock. The only residents venturing out for food were dolphins feasting on fish turned up by the violent storm. But elsewhere, Charleston became a ghost town as sheets of scouring rain borne by huge gusts of wind provided strong proof that Floyd was ready to tear through the town. Power outages knocked out electricity, including traffic lights, but there's little use for them now on empty streets. But shelters like the Charleston Coliseum began to fill with evacuees, human and otherwise, a Noah's Ark of sorts, ready to shelter people and their pets from the pounding rains. 10 years ago, Hurricane Hugo proved a damaging killer storm. Some took that as experience and a sign from above to seek safety until it's over.
It's been okay till the electricity went off, but since we got the generators, it worked out real good.
Set up with food and water?
Yeah, pretty good. We luckily I had the foresight to bring some.
Well, of course, the hotels where people are staying, where the ones that didn't heed the mandatory evacuation order, and the homes where people are also boarded up are without power right now. Very few spots still have electricity, and we won't know until tomorrow when that power will be restored. We also have a report of possible damage of the terminal building at Charleston Airport. We're trying to check on that for you as well. Also, 6 reports of people being treated for carbon monoxide poisoning because they're running their generators inside their home, which is a very dangerous thing to do. Remember, the city of Charleston is under a mandatory curfew until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's when they'll be able to assess at daybreak the damage that Hurricane Floyd has possibly inflicted upon the area of Charleston, South Carolina. I'll be back later on the show to give you more information as the storm effects proceed here in Charleston. In the meantime, I'm Mario Bosquez, Fox 5 News. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Let's go up the coast a bit closer to the center of the hurricane hit, and Brian Andrews, he's in Myrtle Beach, and here's his report.
You can see the wind-driven rain and the night lights of the Myrtle Beach hotels and condominiums right along the deserted Myrtle Beach, which is now being pounded with high-test surf and what could be a storm surge later in the night of 7 to 11 feet. Is your hotel ready? What have you done?
Oh, we're absolutely ready. We've already put most of the yard furniture, lawn furniture, the tables, the chairs, the umbrellas in the pool. That way we won't blow away. We've gone around to all 315 rooms, moved the rocking chairs and tables that normally sit out on the balconies, moved them into the rooms.
The main drag along Myrtle Beach's Grand Strand is a no man's land this dark and dangerous night, as most of the town is deserted. And that's because of the mandatory evacuations, not just for the people, but for the tourists who come here. This is a tourist town, and there is no doubt that there will be an economic impact, in addition to whatever the winds, rains, and storm surge from this hurricane does to Myrtle Beach.
We've got a couple of generators ready to go to keep some sump pumps going, keep equipment rooms pumped out if, in fact, we were to lose power. In fact, we've got a charcoal grill going, hoping to have some hamburgers here in a few minutes.
So the people of Myrtle Beach are trying to keep their spirits up with all this rain coming down and the more powerful winds expected within the next hour. Right now, you're looking at rain driven by tropical storm force winds, but after midnight, that's when we're expecting the hurricane force winds, the very damaging winds. We're hearing at this point the track is going to have this storm make landfall somewhere right along the North and South Carolina border, most likely into North Carolina. We're live in Myrtle Beach. I'm Brian Andrews, Fox News.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Up the coast from Myrtle Beach to Wilmington, Floyd has his eye on that town, and Rick Leventhal says that they also have to worry about tornadoes along with rain.
Wilmington, North Carolina is now bracing for its 5th hurricane in just the last 4 years. The skies are pretty calm right now, but forecasters are saying that within the next couple of hours, we will get hurricane force winds here, winds up to 115 miles per hour, and with it a storm surge of possibly 10 feet or more. And that storm surge is coming at high tide, which means there could be a lot of flooding. The barrier islands and much of the Wilmington area has been evacuated, people told to get out, and most of them listened, causing huge traffic jams earlier in the day. And they've had a lot of rain already today, up to a foot of rain in some places, which means there's been a lot of flooding already. In fact, the highways leading into Wilmington in many cases are now underwater, and many of the neighborhoods here around Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach are also underwater, so things will definitely get worse here. There are also some tornado warnings in effect. There have been some touchdowns in the area, and people are being told, if you haven't yet gotten to one of the hundreds of shelters that are open, well, stay indoors and keep your head down because Floyd is on the way. In Wilmington, North Carolina, Rick Leventhal, Fox News.
Paradise Island in the Bahamas was anything but paradise once Floyd got through with it. Tonight, they're starting the big cleanup. Lynn Gordon, who's a reporter with our sister station in Miami, was right in the thick of the storm. We had her on the 10 o'clock news on Monday, but yesterday things were so wild that all communications were cut off. She was, however, able to file this report.
Floyd passing just 30 miles northeast of Nassau and Paradise Island. Hurricane force winds tearing across the Bahamas, churning up the seas for hours. When it was all said and done, Floyd left his mark, tearing concrete right off the Sheraton Hotel on Paradise Island. On the other side, a guest room with a big hole in the wall. Floyd also blowing out sliding doors, scattering shards of glass everywhere and tearing a hole in the ceiling. Several guests were in the lobby when debris came crashing down.
These are very strong winds. There is no doubt this is one very powerful storm.
Floyd sparking considerable damage as he made his way across Nassau, uprooting trees and ripping a gas pump out of the ground, battered boats in one marina that really took a beating. Several boats even sank as Floyd passed through. What a difference a day makes. It is a beautiful day here in Nassau. The sun is shining, Hurricane Floyd is gone, but the devastation he left behind is apparent everywhere, and the cleanup has just begun. A house flooded with water and seaweed, a bedroom floor covered with sand.
The kitchen's wrecked, the bedroom, as you can see, is wrecked.
Some of the worst damage here in Nassau coming to these homes along West Bay Street. And believe it or not, take a look at this. It is actually a beach, which is now covered in about 4 feet of seaweed. Next door, another home filled with sand, just some of the damage caused by Floyd's 75-mile-per-hour winds. The storm also uprooting trees all over the island and washing away parts of roads. I'm Lynn Gordon in Nassau.
The governor of New Jersey declared a state of emergency the minute storm warnings were posted for the state, and some school districts are shutting down tomorrow and Friday. Bill Rappley is on the Jersey Shore in Seabright for us tonight. Bill.
Harry, communities along the Jersey Shore are used to bearing the brunt of these storms rolling in off of the Atlantic Ocean. Right now, we have a breeze coming in from the north-northeast. It's freshening, but certainly nothing dangerous at this point. The rain is constant, but it's very light still. I'm standing on a seawall built to separate the ocean from the residences here along the main drag in Seabright. And most of the people we talk to here feel like the seawall is going to be able to do its job, and they're confident they'll be safe. The Atlantic is no more roiled up than usual, but boat owners are getting ready for high winds, tying their craft with extra lines at the Surfside Marina. And a watchman is here to make sure Mother Nature behaves. What can you do? Just tie up a bunch of lines?
I'm watching mostly everybody's boat here. You know, while the owner's gone, he's home. If there's any trouble, I can call him.
The approaching hurricane has Governor Whitman on alert as well.
I am, as of today, declaring a state of emergency here in New Jersey. This is, I recognize, an unusual step.
A state of emergency will allow her to call up the National Guard if she deems it necessary. At oceanside bars here in Seabright, televisions are tuned to weather reports instead of sports, and storm watching is the pastime of choice.
The summer's over, Labor Day's over, so the bikinis are gone, so now we watch the storms.
Putting all the lawn furniture away, anything laying around the yard, stowing trailers anywhere I could put them, get everything hidden, and just see what tomorrow brings.
Those with less experience with storms on the Jersey Shore are a little more worried.
I'm majorly worried. Everybody here is telling me, don't worry, it's going to be fine. But I'm on the bottom unit corner by the river, so I'm definitely very nervous. You see the size of that sucker? That's very big, so I'm just a little nervous, absolutely.
And flooding is the major concern here. Of course, this is still under a tropical storm watch here in New Jersey, and some of the school districts that have canceled school tomorrow are Atlantic, Cumberland, and Salem counties in the southern part of the state. There could be more cancellations tomorrow and Friday. But coastlines all along this eastern seaboard are preparing for this storm. We'll continue our coverage with Andrea Day, who's on the beaches in Suffolk County. Andrea?
Well, Bill, we're here at GILGO Beach, and as you can see, the rain has been pretty intense, but so far, there's no wind to speak of. But the big concern here in Suffolk County tonight is on Fire Island. It was before noon, and already Floyd was showing us what he could do. Suffolk emergency teams packed into an early briefing, ready to take him on. And by 1:30, residents on Fire Island were urged to evacuate.
The concern that we have is that once winds reach gale force proportions, we can't run the ferries. And the land route over Robert Moses through the Coast Guard property out to what's called the Burma Road is not reliable.
We went along with the National Park Service rangers to check it out.
You can see right up where the tide came, right up to the toe of the dune.
All from Floyd.
All from Floyd. This is the start of it. Fire Island is nothing but a piece of sand that can be very easily washed away.
By early afternoon, the beachfront was deserted, and contractors were getting prepared for Floyd's blast.
It can withstand a wet 2x4 being shot out of a cannon at 98 miles an hour. And when it impacts dead center, it bounces off, and all it does is leave a little indentation here.
So it should be able to withstand Floyd.
It should be able to withstand Floyd.
And despite the warning, some people chose to ride it out right at home.
I think we'll be okay. We know what to do. We've done it before. We'll do it again.
Are you evacuating?
No.
Why not?
I only did it once in 29 years. I'm not going to do it again. Unless, of course, it gets 155 miles an hour, then I will.
Now, whether or not she goes, that voluntary evacuation does remain tonight on Fire Island. And if you have any problems relating to the storm and you need emergency assistance in Suffolk County, you can call their 24-hour hotline, and that number is 516-852-4900. And now let's go to Nassau County and see what's happening there with Kimberly Richardson. Kim, what's going on?
Well, Andrea, it is raining right now. The winds are calm, but the surf is up. We are definitely starting to feel Floyd flex his muscles. But even still, people along this ocean front are ready and waiting. Larry Marquino is not taking any chances. If Floyd dares to knock on his door, he'll be ready.
I figure just expect the worst. And if it's any less, that will be better for us.
What have your neighbors told you about this area in the past?
Well, I've only been here 3 years, but my neighbors have said we've had some bad ones. So I figure just stay ahead of it and get some sandbags out and go from there.
He's not alone. People living all along Connecticut Avenue and Long Beach are preparing for the worst. Are you concerned about Floyd?
Yes, I am, very much. My daughter tells me don't worry, but I'm very worried. I says, if they tell me get out, I'm going.
Officials at the Nassau County Emergency Management Office are keeping a close watch on things and warning people in Long Beach, Lido Beach, Point Lookout, Freeport, and the Rockaways to expect a rough 48 hours.
Winds possibly 50 to 60 miles an hour. Gusts possibly higher, 5 to 8 inches of rain, some local coastal flooding. Tidal surges, possibly 6 feet above normal.
We back up on normal rains. We heard the weather, and we have to get ready for this.
You're sandbagging tonight?
Yeah. We have storm boards for our driveway, and we're just going to, sand everything up and hope that we won't get flooded.
But for others along the beachfront who may end up staring Floyd right in the eye, there are other concerns far more important than their homes.
Well, my wife's 8.5 months pregnant. So I just want to make sure that we keep an eye on the weather channels and make sure that we're off along Long Beach.
Now, officials do not anticipate having to evacuate this area, but if they do, the way out is either Long Beach Road, Peninsula Road, or the Meadowbrook Parkway. If you have any concerns or questions, you can call a 24-hour hotline that's set out here on Nassau County. The number is 516-573-7055. From the sand to the city, we've got you covered. Cynthia Santana is live in Brooklyn with that part of our story. Cynthia.
Well, Kimberly, it's been raining all day out here in Brooklyn, and it's really coming down right now, heavy. And word of Floyd being downgraded to a tropical storm may be good news, but it doesn't mean we're out of the woods.
And that we will experience significant rainfall and significant wind. And the exact nature of it, of course, is at this point not specifically known. The belief is that it will be up to 5 to 8 inches of rain.
Still enough of a punch left over from Hurricane Floyd to put all city agencies on alert at the Office of Emergency Management.
We're deploying our emergency service personnel to areas that we know that are subject to flooding, deploying our pumps and our light trucks and our generators around the city at sensitive locations, hospitals, nursing homes, etc.
Floyd's every move is being tracked and flood zones around the boroughs mapped out. The MTA says it hopes to run trains through the storm.
We're in the process of making sure all our storm drains are clean, all that our pumps are working. We've got our pump trains and water removal in place.
But if the trains do run into problems like a few weeks ago and the FDR floods, the mayor will shut them down and schools may follow.
Schools will be operating normally until 6 p.m. We are expecting, the Chancellor, I think, will shortly announce the cancellation of all evening programs from 6 p.m. on, which are high school.
At this point, there are only volunteer evacuations for people who think they'll be flooded, like those who live in the community of Seagate, Brooklyn.
From their experience, they know it's usually a problem here. We've lost a few homes back in '92.
Sandbags are already in place and homeowners are taking precautions of their own. FREIDA APPLEBAUM lost part of her foundation to those floodwaters in '92.
More or less prepared, yes.
This time FREIDA has the plywood ready to seal up windows and installed a seawall, but now like the rest of us, she can only wait. 20 shelters have been set up, most of them in schools, and they can hold up to 70,000 people. If you have any questions about the shelters or about emergency services, you can call 888-663-6692. You can also go online for this information, and the website is www.ci.nyc.ny FREIDA.us. And the mayor is telling everyone to bring in their lawn furniture and to be prepared for power outages. Have some flashlights and candles handy and some water. Reporting from Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, Cynthia Santana, Fox 5 News. Rosanna.
Thank you, Cynthia. Well, the storm is expected to hit Connecticut's shoreline by tomorrow night, and people who have boats are concerned about losing them. Tom Mischuk is in West Haven, Connecticut, where some on the Long Island Sound are securing the best way they can. What's going on there, Tom?
Well, Rosanna, Hurricane Floyd is, of course, expected to smack Long Island Sound with winds of up to 60 miles per hour tomorrow night. So many boat owners here are doing their best scrambling, trying to tie down their boats tonight. Some, though, are even doing their best trying to get their boats off Long Island Sound altogether.
I just like the extra peace of mind and comfort of bringing the boat up here.
The lifelines for many boat owners are the Connecticut and Thames rivers, which run north, away from the swelling waters of Long Island Sound, directly to inland marinas.
There's a lot of high hills around the harbor, and they're a long way up the river, so you tend not to get heavy waves or heavy tidal surge.
All of the boat owners we spoke with today took time off from work to protect their vessels, guiding them up the Thames River to the marina at America Wharf in Norwich. From Noank, 15 miles, Mystic, 19, and from Watch Hill, Rhode Island, 20 miles.
Probably not worth the chance to leave it near the ocean. Wanted to bring it far inland as we can.
Some of these marinas have what some people call hurricane pilings. They're these big things that sort of look like telephone poles. You can see there's a metal guide right here to hold this thing in place, even if it moves around during a storm. The bottom line is these things offer protection, and a lot of it, because if the water level rises, this dock and all the boats attached to it rise with it, all the way to the top of the pilings.
You don't do it, we lose them.
Well, no one's expecting quite that much trouble inland, but no one's taking any chances either.
We had about a half dozen in today, and we'll probably get another 10 to 20 tomorrow.
No one is panicking here, of course, but we're told most inland marinas do expect to sell most of their boat space, that is, by noon tomorrow. We are live tonight in West Haven, Connecticut. I'm Tom Mischuk, Fox 5 News.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Our coverage of Hurricane Floyd is just beginning.
Coming up, everybody keeps talking about a storm surge, but what is that? We'll show you what really happens when the sea blasts onto the shore.
Also ahead tonight, thousands of kids got sent to summer school because they supposedly didn't make the grade. But we're going to be telling you why the kids passed and the testing company flunked. Were your kids affected?
And could that long commute on the train actually be hurt?
They're taking this storm very seriously, and we can let you see why. This is a live picture of the surf, certainly churning up as Floyd makes its way up the coast. This does not look normal for this time of the season and the considerable wave heights that Ventnor and Atlantic City usually get. Now, people along the seashore are used to hurricanes. They know how to prepare for them. We caught a lot of people tying up their porch furniture today, bringing in their lawn chairs and making sure things were secure. Meanwhile, other people kind of brave the rain. It's been raining here all day. Out on the boardwalk, we saw a few people walking along the boardwalk, having their rolling chairs covered up and trying to keep dry the best they can. Most schools down here in Atlantic County will be closed tomorrow and Friday. I'm told that they're going to want to use the schools for shelters if evacuations become necessary. So again, emergency management is on this. They are preparing. They're going to be in the command post all day tomorrow, just assisting if people need to leave the area. But right now, it's kind of a wait-and-see situation. I'm Karen Thomas reporting live from the Ventnor Fishing Pier in Atlantic County, New Jersey. Back to you, Rosanna.
All right, thank you, Karen. Florida was spared the full brunt, but the storm did a lot of damage, especially to the coastline. The beaches were raked over from the waves that Floyd kicked up that swept away a lot of the sand.
We lost a whole lot. I'm looking at, I mean, it was pretty wide here. And it's like when I came out and saw this, I said, oh my God. I said, well, we lost a whole lot of the attention here.
People who live in the area say they're glad that so far that's the worst of it.
Well, Rosanna, this may seem hard to believe because we talk so much about the strong winds that a hurricane can bring, but actually the deadliest part of the hurricane is the storm surge. LEXY HICKOK reports the sea can pack quite a wallop.
Think of a storm surge as a wall of water riding ahead of the hurricane.
The strong winds with the hurricane literally push broom the water ahead of it.
For example, say a normal high tide is 2 feet. When the surge moves in, it may bring in an extra 15 feet of water on shore, so now high tide is actually 17 feet. So how destructive is a storm surge? Take a look at the damage left from the 16-foot surge brought on by Hurricane Andrew, or the 20-foot surge from Hurricane Hugo in South Carolina. The National Weather Service predicts a 3 to 5 foot surge around the New York area. The water here at Atlantic Beach is starting to show some signs of Floyd, but as the hurricane gets closer, the waves will break more frequently and they'll be much higher than normal. And it's that higher than normal water level that has sent surfers running for the beach. But what's fun for surfers is devastating for structures. 1 cubic foot of water weighs 64 pounds.
Imagine, you know, being hit by a freight train moving at 20 or 30 miles an hour. These weigh a lot more than a freight train.
So while the surf is up, you may want to take time to tie things down. Lexy Hickok, Fox 5 News.
Our coverage of Hurricane Floyd continues.
That's right. Floyd's left behind his calling card, but...